I hope you're having a great day. I hope you're staying safe at home. Today I want to talk about the difference between a food allergy and food sensitivity or a food intolerance. There are thousands and thousands of people out there who are confused. They can't digest the food, they get these food allergy tests, and you just go down the road of doing unnecessary testing, but you don't even know whether you have a food allergy or you have a problem with food insensitivity or food tolerance. There's a big difference. And today, when you understand this, you would be able to relate it to most of the problems you have. Second, it's extremely important for us to know the difference between this, because if it is a food allergy that is causing you a problem and you don't know, it can lead to a lot of issues with your immune system, autoimmune conditions, and everything. So you see, there's always a trigger and always a root cause. Today we only look at symptoms. We react to symptoms. We want to put band-aids on symptoms. We want to treat symptoms. It's good for a while, we get relief, but then you have a new problem or the same original problem that grows more and more into something called chronic illness, which means we're constantly sick. We're constantly living with that fatigue, with that pain, with those loose motions, with that IBS, with that constipation. So it's always good to try to figure out what the root cause is, not just when it comes to life. You look for the root cause of the problem in your relationship. You don't just look for the symptoms. You made a mistake, go and buy flowers every time. No. How many flowers will you keep buying? You have identified the root cause in your relationship. In your career, identify the root cause of your problem in your career. You can't just keep looking at symptoms and reacting to them. So number one, what is the difference between a food allergy or food tolerance or food sensitivity, intolerance? It is your body's reaction. That is the main difference. For a food allergy, your immune system reacts to the allergy, to whatever it is, whether it's that particular food, your immune system causes the reaction. Now, when it comes to food intolerance, the reaction is triggered by your digestive system, by a poorly functioning digestive system, by inflammation. So when you have food tolerance symptoms, like you're intolerant to a food or you're sensitive to a food, some of the symptoms that you would have is gas, flatulence, bloating, diarrhea, multiple stools during the day, or even constipation. You would have cramping in your stomach and you could have nausea. Okay? But with an allergy, a food allergy, it's usually a rash. It would be itching of the skin. Sometimes you feel a little bit dizzy. There would be a swelling. There would be hives. These are usually the symptoms of a food allergy. But the reactions, the triggers are completely different. So let's talk about food intolerance or food sensitivity. This does not usually involve your immune system. But if you ignore food intolerance and you ignore food sensitivity and the foods that are causing a problem, it could develop into something more serious. So food intolerance or sensitivity, usually you would find that the foods you used to eat before, all of a sudden you can't eat them right now. So what's changed? What's changed? Your system has become sensitive. Your gut has become too inflamed. So what you could eat before, you can no longer eat it because that food creates a little more inflammation and your gut gives you all the signals that I spoke about. Either gas, flatulence, acidity, bloating, nausea, cramping, and all of that stuff. So when it comes to a food intolerance, okay, we become sensitive because all of a sudden we have lost the inability to digest or process food the right way, which means our digestive systems are getting weaker and weaker. It could also be because of inflammation in the gut like we just spoke about. It can also mean you don't have the right digestive enzymes to break down your food. We eat so much of junk and processed food that we actually deplete our digestive enzymes. If we don't have digestive enzymes, we can't break down our food when we're supposed to. So we have incomplete digestion, or we have particles of food which are not digested, which should have been, that gets into our gut and starts producing inflammation. Okay, so we become sensitive to these foods or we become intolerant to these foods. Additives, preservatives, artificial colors that are added to foods can also cause you to be intolerant or sensitive to certain foods. So certain kids or certain adults, when they have that pink color in food or red, in a gem or in a Smartie or an M&M, okay, they have a feeling of gut issues with that because they're intolerant or they're sensitive. That's not an allergy. Okay, so certain colors can affect you. Okay, so it could be preservatives, additives, colors, sulfites in foods, MSG in foods, artificial colors. So we got to be careful of these. These are not allergies. These are chemicals that cause sensitivities. So also a lot of chemicals are added in today's food. If you take any product, processed food, you look, when you turn it over and you see the label, you'll see words that you can't even understand. Chemical after chemical, preservative after preservative, 5 different colors, 5 different stabilizers. this is so much in your body that your body kind of gets insensitive towards it. So sometimes you have to learn to read the labels and identify if any of these triggers could be causing your food intolerance or your food sensitivity. Like a lot of people, they are not allergic to dairy or gluten. Some are. If you're celiac, if you're lactose intolerant, that means you can never have them. But some people, they've had it all their lives and all of a sudden they can't have it. So you're not gluten, you don't have you're not celiac, you don't have a problem. It just means your gut has changed over the years. It's not strong enough to break down what it could break down. So you see, you get a lot of clues from deciding whether you're allergic to a food or you're intolerant to a food. Caffeine. Some people are sensitive to caffeine. We like caffeine, it gives us that high, whatever. But some people, the moment you remove the caffeine, they start tolerating their foods better. So caffeine can also be a stimulant that causes you to be intolerant or sensitive to your foods. Then when you have certain legumes, like you have chana, you have rajma, if you've not soaked it the right way, if the phytic acids are still strong, if you've not cooked it the right way, you start bloating up immediately. This doesn't mean you're allergic to it. This means you are insensitive towards it. So either you got to make your gut stronger or you got to cook it better. Some people don't cook it the right way. Some people don't soak it enough. Most restaurants and hotels, do you really think they're soaking all their grains overnight? No. They do it just before cooking, and that's why you feel bloated after even a 5-star meal or after a normal restaurant meal. Cruciferous vegetables suits many people. For some people, they don't. This doesn't mean you're allergic to it. Cruciferous vegetables are rich in sulfurs, difficult to break down if your digestive system is weak. So you need to identify these things and not label yourself as allergic to it. Chewing. If you don't chew your food the right way, guess what? The food has to be partially digested in your mouth. If you don't do that, okay, it's going to become a little more difficult for your gut to break it down. Your gut starts to get more and more inflamed. So that's about food intolerance and food sensitivity. Let's talk about allergies. Your immune system is your first and last line of defense in the human body. It is designed to protect you against bacteria, viruses, fungus, pathogens, and germs. Now, when you have a food allergy, what's happening is your immune system identifies a protein or a couple of proteins in the food that you ate, okay, but it identifies it as an invader. So it now produces antibodies, and these antibodies attack you. Okay, so you react to these antibodies. Your immune system is just doing its job. So a food allergy is basically a foreign invader. A protein of that food allergy is a foreign invader. Your immune system reacts to it. Okay, that's why there's a test called an IgE test. It's called the immunoglobulin E test. And you must do this because if your count comes high, you definitely know that you have a food allergy. And then it's nice to try to identify what these allergies are so you can keep those foods out of your system. Because if you continuously eat them, they could develop into really bad gut issues, constant bloating, IBS, Crohn's, all of these conditions, and even autoimmune conditions. So it's so necessary for you to identify if your IgE is high. Sometimes when you do a full food allergy test, you get like 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 foods. It's not always accurate. Maybe it's only one out of all those foods that affects you, or 2 or 3 or 4. That's why you got to go through a period of elimination, reintroduction, elimination, reintroduction. So technically, if you have a food allergy, it is an allergic antibody that is creating most of your problems. So there's a reaction with a chemical, with the histamine that your mast cells produce, and you get all the reactions of hives or inflammation or swellings which are unexplained, dizziness, itching, and all of that stuff. Okay, now 90%, in our experience, mostly 90% of the food allergies that we see come from the following groups. Either milk, dairy, lactose or lactase, or sometimes only lactose, so only milk, but yogurt suits you. But again, you got to find out whether it suits you or not. So it could be lactose, it could be gluten. These are the most common ones. Eggs, fish, shellfish, peanuts, tree nuts, walnuts, wheat, which we spoke about, gluten, and soybeans. 90%, most people have these food allergies, either one of them, 2 of them, or all of them. Some people have, it goes down. Then you can do green peas, or mushrooms, or certain fungi. So it's very important for you to understand, because a lot of people just stop all these foods, but then you're not correcting the root cause of the problem. So it's important for you to get your IgE done. Sometimes people's hormones work out of balance, and it could just be because of food allergy. We stop gluten, we stop milk, all the problems disappear. Sometimes you have eczema or psoriasis. Okay, and you do all the possible treatments, but you just take away that one inflammatory food that you're possibly allergic to or you're sensitive to, and the eczema disappears. You eat the food again, the eczema, the psoriasis comes back again. So you see, everyone's body is unique. what someone else is allergic to you may be the food that really suits you. So you can't go on comparing everything with other people. Sometimes you got to listen to your own body. If you listen carefully, your body is always telling you what is right for you and what is wrong for you. So if you're constantly eating a food that you keep feeling uncomfortable with, you're just digging you're making more problems for yourself. Your body is rejecting that particular food. You know it bloats you up. It's not a good feeling. So if it's a food sensitivity issue, work on strengthening your gut. Take those foods out for a while you rebuild your gut with your your probiotics, your natural foods, your lifestyle. And if it's a food allergy, then you've got to be off those foods for a while, maybe until your gut gets stronger, because sometimes the food allergies that you have, all of a sudden you can start eating it. There are people who can't eat prawns when they're kids, but when they're adults, they can enjoy prawns. The body's constantly changing. So the idea is to identify the root cause of the problem and make a change, because there are tons of people out there with autoimmune conditions today, and sometimes the only solution is your food. It's multifactorial. There are many other things. But like I said, autoimmune, your immune system is behaving erratically. Okay? It's a response to your immune system. That is exactly what your food allergy is. It is a response to your immune system. The trigger is your immune system, because there is an antibody being produced, because there is a protein that is identified in the food that you should not be eating. So that's how you identify these things. Learn to live consciously. Every time there's a symptom, sit back. Every symptom is not dangerous. Sometimes your symptom is your body doing the right thing at the right time. I would like my body to warn me. I would like my body to give me a symptom so I can do something about it. So the days I overdo it on junk, I may get a pimple here, pimple there, all of that stuff. No, I step back. I take it easy. I've done something wrong. My body's given me a symptom, which is the pimple. Maybe too much of heat in my body, been overdoing it on junk. If I change that action, I cut down my junk, I eat more cooling foods, guess what? My skin glows, the pimples disappear, and everything's fine. So remember, a symptom is not always a bad thing. Even the worst symptom, like a tumor growing in your breast or a tumor growing in your pancreas, is your body telling you something is wrong. Yes, it's dangerous, but your body's trying to tell you something. It's not trying to tell you, give me more medicine. That's one thing, take the medicine. It's also trying to tell you, change the way you eat. Change the way you move, change the way you sleep, change your emotional health. These are all triggers that your body is trying to tell you to change. If we listen to it, we have recovery and we have healing. If we don't, we have chronic illness. Have a great day, everyone. Until next time, eat smart, move more, sleep right, and breathe deep.